Hello, hello, hello. Happy almost full moon in Aries. Welcome, everyone. Just setting up the space here, up on the Restream, and also on IG. Hi, thanks for joining. Um, Today's message, just going through conversations that I have in my world, especially when it comes with about working with the energies with the full moon, new moon, as well as reflections just like past with this yoga certification that I just went through this past weekend. I just came back from Idaho. Um, and so I really just took my time because I'm on a like 2 week break right now from my full-time job where I get to enjoy this time off, especially having just undergone my cycle this past week, taking time to integrate the lessons that has been coming up. Um, and for those of you who are new, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you. My name is Stephanie. And as a holistic practitioner, energy worker, what my husband likes to say is like spiritual teacher. Um, I like to share conversations that I have in my world, especially when it comes to working with spirit and working with your higher self, with the energies around you from the shamanic perspective, and all things metaphysical, spiritual, and how to integrate that. And so even today, I'm being encouraged because I got this time to just kind of integrate, go within as a hermit. And my one of my mentors says is the womb cave, right? Where you create sacred space for yourself and just allow yourself to go through your sacred bleeding. Because when you're bleeding, that's when you are having these releases. It's like your inner full moon, right? Your inner winter. And these are all like lessons, teachings that I get through that I've been learning the past couple months. And it's been a beautiful process. So just to touch base on the full moon, which is a Sunday in the sign of Aries, which is also the first sign with the astrological like year, right? So with this full moon, something that's come up a lot of like emotions, a lot of um, maybe topics and themes, and you can definitely feel free to comment down below and let me know what's been coming up for you because it's really interesting. Everyone receives it a different area in their life and from a different degree. At least for me, like with the inner child, the child wound, right? Um, your inner like traumas that maybe you've experienced in your life, right? And then they're resurfacing, especially because with Aries, it's like this energy of a leader, the initiatory fire energy that helps you to begin things, especially coming through the lens of perspective where the new moon was over in April as I was just doing some work here. And one of the major things, it's like back in April, like what is it that you kind of set the intention for so you can be a leader um, in the things that have been coming up for you that you wanted to like expand and grow. And so I'm just sharing my perspective and some reflections with what's coming up for me. And so, with being in Libra season, Libra is like that air sign. It's also initiatory energy where it comes to like communication. How have you been communicating with your community, with the people around you? What has been coming up the past couple weeks, especially where, we're still in this Libra season for a bit. And now we have this energy of support to Aries coming in, and maybe you might be feeling it now, where it's like, okay, in the first couple weeks with the new moon, it's about how you could, at least in your life, see how the needs of your community, the people around you, family, friends, could be met, right? And giving, right? Um, it's also about like the work. That's what, at least for me, was coming up a lot. And then now we have like this energy with Aries and fire. It's more personal, like what's coming up for you. What are your needs? What is it that you need to give yourself so that you could feel like you belong in your communities? And then um, also, as a leader, thinking back like 6 months ago and your intentions that might be coming full circle, and you're harvesting that. Um, what steps, or maybe even now, what do you need to complete to set boundaries around so that you can actualize um, the what you could say is the new thing that you are bringing. And so when it comes to like leadership support and how you're stepping forward, leadership is a lot, not just in terms of like you leading a group. It's also like how you show up in life, how you show up in action and words. Say you decide to participate in a race, and your circle, community, and friends or family doesn't necessarily do that. But in a leadership is actually somebody who um, is taking that first step, right? And so that's what a leader means. Hey, beautiful. Thank you. It's good to see you. And so that's what a leader is. A leader takes that first step um, to start something new, to start a mission, or you can say, like, what is it that you're here to bring forward, right? And so, with this full moon coming up this weekend, tapping into that support with the fire through Aries, and what it is that you just need to set those boundaries around, clear a couple things up so that you could say yes to what it is that you want to say, and then yes to, and then say no to what you do not feel excited about, which is really important because um, another conversation that happens in my world is when I talk with a lot of my, beautiful, like, healers, goddesses, friends who are in their own business and ventures. They feel like this is a time to kind of like just focus, like headstrong, and like take those actionary steps that you're feeling inspired to move on. Um, and maybe for some of us, and I'll share from my perspective, at least what, doing some readings where this energy could be especially supportive around like not just physical children, but like when we say children, it's like what it is that you're birthing, what it is that you're bringing forward, um, creativity, romance. And why is that necessary? Because in life, we're not just here to do things, right? We're here to explore the fun and joy that we receive as we take action. And so I'm actually feeling a little bit more alive and in tune right now. The past couple of days just had to like kind of settle in and kind of integrate what was going through for me. And so, as I mentioned in the very beginning of the live here, maybe some energies that might be coming up in the next coming weeks, especially this weekend, starting this full moon cycle, right? Leading to the next new moon is maybe tense situations around, again, like these areas, right? Creativity, how are you expressing yourself, especially because we're in the sign of communication in air and community, like, um, how have you been communicating? How could you communicate a little bit more? Seeing like the compare and contrast in a couple weeks. Also noticing how if there's things coming up like traumas, triggers, these are just, again, beautiful opportunities for us to see how we are being molded. And that is something that I had to be reminded of, like hard strong, um, this week, as like an experience of duality came through, where duality of like, the energy, the essence that I bring forward on like my IG platform, and out in the world, right? In the day to day. So this is why this like conversation was prompted up, because I love to share the messages and guidance that I get in my interaction with spirit and my higher self. And I just feel like hopefully to help somebody else, right? And then, at least with the work that I do, in my world, it's a lot about like how we feel empowered as we remember through the sacred practices that we do in conversations, that we feel safe to hold with each other, that um, you tap into the activation of the empowerment of the leader that you are, the sacred being that in the energy and the medicine that you bring. And so with this Aries, drawing awareness, couple questions I wrote down that could inspire you to kind of check and evaluate yourself. Have you been feeling hot-headed? Have there been conversation situations that you've been kind of like exploding on a little bit, feeling selfish or argumentative, right? It is a good time right now to focus on your needs and giving yourself what it is that you need during the next coming weeks, right? As you integrate and process. But at the same time, toxic, because we are in the sign of like judgment, and true judgment, right? That's weighing out the balance between the needs of the external, like others, community you can think of, and then the needs of your own. So you're taking care of yourself, but not to the point that you're saying like it's my way, and if no one else meets that, then I'm just going to be very like just close off to any other opportunity. Have you been feeling fast, making rash decisions, impulsive, too blunt or too competitive? And have you been ignoring other people's sensibilities? So we always want to feel balance. And when working with these energies, it helps us just to, draw awareness in the next coming weeks. It helps to soothe the resistance that we might be feeling when it comes up for us. And again, have you been allowing yourself to have more fun? And if not, work on those things, right? Just draw a little bit of awareness, and setting the intention goes a long way. Life isn't a race or a competition, so find the balance between the needs of your own and the needs of your community and the people around you. And at least, sharing from my perspective, my mentor was like, go on live and share from your perspective. Um, and yeah, I something that I was reflecting right before I jumped on here was, sometimes with like a lot that you learn, a lot of it at first doesn't get like land, right? And then start growing, right? It kind of takes a little bit of time for you to keep watering that seed. So the awareness pops up. And so something that came through in the beginning of Libra was like, oh, community, new relationships might come through. If you haven't seen that, just feel free to rewatch the previous video, which is already on my YouTube or my IG. And not only that, but also realizing that in the sign of community, right? No man is a single island, right? You go so much further when you're in community. There's a place for you. And these are just like little nudges and themes coming up in my life. And that came through this past weekend when I was away at a yoga training. And one of my most recent, um, I would say, shadows that has been coming up with this full moon and my inner womb cycle, has been like, having this like fear, this belief that I don't belong, right? There's no place for me, or it's hard for me to like meet people that I can connect with because maybe, the level of expression that I share is at least and especially around my like spirituality, and this is what I love, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I'm always talking about, especially when I'm speaking with like my friends and other people who are in the soulpreneurship world, right? Um, and yeah, it was like I was in a community, and one of my biggest fears, at least I've carried, it's like, oh, going to the space with women and just like closing off, right? Just automatically shut down. And in the most beautiful synchronistic ways. Couple things. First of all, being aware of that, I used to like have a lot of judgment and guilt and like, why can't you be like everybody else? Why do you have to like, shut down? It's, etc. All this negative, self-talk that'll just put you down even more. But I've been working a lot with awareness and especially with my self practices like meditation, always prayer, connecting and asking for assistance with my spirit guides, spirit team. And then most recently, I shared in my stories where I've been working with plant energy, plant essences, sound and vibration is what I work with as well. The spirit of sound and silence, as well as, those forms. And so, what I actually on my trip, like, when you're traveling in an airport, you can only, be limited to a certain amount of liquid that you can bring. Um, and I don't have it here right now, but I found a farmer's market and synchronistically, there's somebody who has a farm over there and they harvest and produce their own essences. And sharing with her what I was going through, she recommended a special essence that she had online. And when you work with plant energy and essences as a support, the vibration of the plant, and just in case you don't know, kind of like essential oils too, because, all cells communicate, they're always vibrating, there's a vibrational energy. So the vibrational essence of the plant begins to vibrate and work with you when you take it internally, whether you drink it or however it's recommended. It's like a homeopathic medicine, you can say, put it on your tongue. And, with faith and intention, right, and belief, you start connecting with the essence because when it comes to working with, I do a lot of work with trauma and trauma and like past life energy that we carry into this lifetime that might block us from taking action in this lifetime here in our growth here as conscious beings. Um, talk theory, talk therapy is not enough, right? To get to the level of the first layer of the mind that's just present right here or present right here. And so we use, spiritual tools, essences, plant medicine, energy, and sound to get at the cellular level, the vibrational of your auric field, um, the all layers of yourself to come and bring what it is that you need to draw up to your awareness so you can work on and heal. And so, having worked and just like found this medicine, and also the assistance of rose. If anyone has ever worked with rose spray, the beautiful plant, the rose, has this energy to clear, and it's a loving. It's one of the highest vibrational plants when it comes to the heart space. So it helps you to open up your heart, um, energetic center chakra, so that you can have that clear channel, feel safe in your world and safe in the situation, the external that you're going through, so that you can integrate that at the soul, spiritual, higher self level, and then bring that healing through action in the physical world, right? And so, working with those energies, I was aware of just being grounded and present. And I shout out to my sister, Dula Alexis, where she was like, yeah, I could see you just probably integrating, not necessarily like you like are quiet and shut off. But like from her perspective, like I'm sure you were just like observing, absorbing things in. And then when it was time for you to come through, you probably showed up, right? I was like, facts. And so this plant medicine has been helping me. And again, meditation and silence and just drawing awareness, not running away from the emotions, but acknowledging it, facing it has been helping me to see this week leading up to the full moon, that this wound, this energy, this belief, has been something that I coming up now, resurfacing in a more gentle way with the assistance of these energies and allies so that I can face it, integrate it, move on. Because essentially it's a belief that's been lodged in, whether it's in this lifetime or generational, right? Um, Societal, right? So that I can see that I'm carrying something that is actually not true and in alignment to my highest self, right? To my belief. And so moving on with that, like reflecting back on what were the signs and things that are going to come up with through Libra season with community and new relationships, I met people that, maybe I didn't open space for conversation and these things, but I saw signs and symbols. So for me, it's like, as simple as, I saw a yoga mat with someone had like the sacred geometry, like Merkaba. That's already a sign. This person is like, you know, possibly, someone I can interact with, right? I could feel like I'm part of the Vibe tribe. We were all there for the same purpose and reason, which was like to further our initiations and working with yoga and our passion for movement and energy as medicine. And that, going back was another like, oh, okay, I did go and find a community in which I could connect with, right? So those things have been realized and actualized without me actually remembering it at the time or before I left on the trip. And then even with leading up to this full moon, like the steps of Aries, like that fire for you to take action to complete something that you set forth like 6 months ago, the intention to, or even just to start something, right, that you've been needing to take or set healthy boundaries around what it is that you need for yourself so that you can show up as the leader. And whatever way, again, so even if you're the first one to join up for like a Spartan race and none of your friends and like family have like done that, right? That is you taking leadership. Or saying, me going on a trip over to Idaho. Who would have thought that? So things like that. And feel free to comment down below, like whatever you feel resonates. Ah, beautiful. Resonates for you that has been coming up in your own sphere and space. And, even though I could definitely see how like the shadows and the triggers I was working through this past weekend and, integrating all that this week, I could see that by tapping into the resources that I have, especially with the energies and signs, like season, the planets that we're in coming around, right, in our charts, how there's reason and purpose. And one of the beautiful mantras that I've been hearing all entire week, God does not make mistakes. So there's nothing you can do to mess anything up when it comes to your purpose. And when also taking that little deep further, if you've, tuned into like Abraham Hicks, I've been listening to her more this week, a reminder of like, again, at any given moment in time, you are calling forth and, reclaiming, you are, definitely etching more in stone your reality based off of what you're projecting. And there might be something in your reality or even the feelings and emotions that come up for you with like the full moon this week or anytime, right? An experience in your external that Acknowledge, observe it, but don't feed it. The more you talk about it, the more about you talk about what you don't like, what you don't feel. At a certain point, yeah, certain spaces are safe enough for you to express, to get it out, right? But then there's another layer. That's why I was saying the assistance of like plant medicine, essences, sound and vibrational tools, movement through the body so the energy can be out, not just at the level of the mind process, but from the body and your vibrational field out so that you are more in vibrational alignment to the reality that you're here for, right? Your next level of growth as a leader, a conscious leader in your environment, in your realm, reality. And um that, is definitely just something that I felt was really important to bring up because as a reminder, I could keep talking about the trigger and the shadow that came up for me to be aware of and work through. And I did for a couple of days. But at some point, I needed to stop talking about it because those triggers and the shadows only are really coming up so that you can become aware of a dissonant energy or piece of the puzzle that's not no longer fitting in the puzzle that you are now. So there's something that, again, you are, should have let go. And it's just coming out on a deeper layer, time for you to let go of. And something you've outgrown and feel empowered with this Aries energy that, you know what, I don't need to carry this anymore. I'm ready to go to the next expression. Example for me, I kept like thinking, I'm like, it's like when you start school and you start at the basic level of like the sciences, like basic biology, chemistry, physics, right? 101 of each course. And then you take the next layer, like you take advanced chem, you take biophysics, who knows, right? Biochemistry, etc. And you're just like, you keep like referring back to the old tools, the old foundational things and building, they're there. They started you on the journey to keep learning the advanced lessons. But at what point are you going to start using the new lessons that you already hold? At what point are you going to say yes to the things that you feel you want to say yes, but you feel like you're like there's a commitment to this old thing? Like, no, that was one of my lessons now. Like, I don't feel excitement anymore by doing this particular thing necessarily all the time. I want to challenge myself. I want to be in a relationship with something that's gonna challenge me, that's gonna get me excited, and fired up, burnt up, lit up, right? Um, because who wants to be stuck in complacency? And so, another aid to assist with you know, diligence, being diligent will get you there. It's the fire to start, right? The momentum. Being consistent will keep you there. And then being grateful will open you up to more of what's available there, right? Of what's available now. And the moment you can give yourself grace and gratitude and say, you know what, I'm ready to receive, it's already in my vortex, so to speak, that's when it's going to hit, right? I'm ready to receive and say, oh, it's not that I didn't have a place to fit in here. It's actually the moment that you're receiving and you're in an environment, something that you're, shifting into, you're having an experience, you're in the same vibrational alignment with everybody else there and in the environment also. So an example is a lot of us, teachers were like nervous, because we have to perform, we have to do a demo, not perform, but we have to lead everyone through a demo. And we're learning a lot. We're with the were with Busy Gold, who had created Booty, put forth Booty Yoga, um, and to like do your demo in front of her and other, master trainers, like got nerve wracking. And there's fears that came up, right? Like, oh, can I do this? I don't know if I'm getting all the information, right? But reminder was that no, you heard the call, you took the action, you either got in your car, you bought the ticket, and you flew over. You got your hotel space and you made the effort, and you, regardless, you just put your blinders on, and this is what I'm here for. I don't know what's next, which is another message too. I don't know what's next, but I'm here. I'm here. I'm taking the steps. I'm having faith. I'm staying in my lane and my vibration. And even if it's, my mentor says, the feeling feels like chunky. It feels like cringy, like uncomfortable, right? Nerve wracking, etc. All the feels. That is where you just hold on to the word, hold on to the message, to the visions that you see, the excitement, and keep coming to that, keep coming to that, keep coming to that, and then pray and talk. You know what? Thank you, Spirit, because I see I'm in the space where I belong. I'm meant to be here, right? You're meant to be where you are, and exactly what it is that you're learning, it's not a mistake, right? You're going to be using that and just fall in love with it, right? Because there's no limit to how much you can learn, and there's no limit to what you could do. The rest, if you're just willing to show up and hold the space, share what you feel is meant to be shared, and that's what's going to come through as you, as a leader, bringing it back here. um, and any other thoughts? Just wanted to share about my experience, showing you, highlighting you through story and this conversation out, bringing you into my realm in terms of how I see spirit work, with me, through me. I no longer get so frustrated or upset that I have to feel the cringe, right? Because it happens to all of us. We all have to go through it. Um, but I'm grateful because when I allow myself to rest, to hear and receive and integrate, it's not that spirit's judging you or blaming you and like, oh, blah, 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 blah. No, it's, hey, this is not vibrating. It's dissonant, right? It's not in harmony and alignment to what, is true of you, who you actually are now, not who you were then or what you held space for, what you were told before. And just to kind of like go through, I hope this empowers you, share stories about like how, spirit, God, works in your life, and how there's always there's always gratitude regardless of how the results go through. Another lesson is that you gave it your all, and you're not really here for the end goal, right? You're here for the transformation. You're here for the experience. You're here for how you're going to be evolving and what else God has put out, your spirit has put in you so it can be expressed, of how much more powerful you are, and what else you're capable of. And don't feel afraid to say yes to the bigger dream that comes through, right? And that being said, I actually want to pull something up that maybe will inspire you, because when I read this, I was like, oh yeah, that's a definite like F yes, like energy and vibe that you should claim, especially like this Aries field, where when we go through with it, with the Aries feels like the initiative, right? And when you bring that about, I'm just actually looking for that now. But while I'm looking for it, just like little announcements, what I am actually going to do. I'm going to put forward the reading for the Libra reflections, Aries reflections as well, um, up on my podcast, which has been a freaking long time since I posted anything, but it is time now. And so this was it. Um, the message just to kind of like fuel you up, inspire you, light you up. Stop setting small goals because you're afraid of disappointment. Clean up your resistance and hit the big ones. And this is from like Genevieve, and I'm gonna repost that, but she's always talking about like money and owning it. And she ends that with like, you beautiful worthy bitch, right? You're worthy. um, and so let that sink in, whatever that resonates for you in the next coming weeks. It's always beautiful and interesting to see how spirit works in our lives and how we're co-creating literally are with the, you know, walking hand through the synchronicities and miracles that line up in your life through the energies that we're in, and how it just runs a little bit more smoother. A little bit more smoother. And I would say a lot more empowered, right? And so, yes, going back to that, I'll be having my podcast episode for perfect timing, full moon and Aries, a little bit just for you to sink in with the information. So stay tuned on the divine.cosmic.empress IG page. And if you're local to Maryland, I'll be at my second fair with oracle reading messages. Reading the energy and what's coming up for you is what I do, and what the spirit gives assists us with that practical tools and steps that you can do in order to um, feel back into that empowered state, vibrational energy, see with clarity, and crystals, as well as some energy work with Reiki healing. And so, thank you so much for being present here, for showing up, for holding space. And I'd definitely love to hear more about what you gained from this perspective, what came up with the energies. And thank you so much. And I'll talk to you guys soon.